Namaskar to all. I am Chitra Chaudhary, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Economics, University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. Today, I am going to deal on the theory of distribution, Vitran ka Siddhant. The theory of factor prices is popularly known as the theory of distribution, and we can categorize the theory of distribution into 4 factors. One will be your functional distribution, another will be your personal distribution, then there will be your micro distribution and then macro distribution. First, functional distribution, it states how the various factors of production, they are rewarded for their services rendered in the production process. It means how the rent of land, wages of labor, interest on capital and profits of entrepreneur are determined. फलनात्मक वितरण जो ये स्पष्ट करता है कि किस प्रकार वितरण उत्पादन के साधनों जैसे श्रम, पूंजी, लाभ, इन सभी को किस प्रकार उनका प्रतिफल प्राप्त होता है. सेकेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन विल बी पर्सनल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, व्यक्तिगत वितरण. दिस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इट इज़ आल्सो नोन एज द साइज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ इनकम. इस वितरण के सिद्धांत को आय का सीमांत उत्पादकता सिद्धांत भी कहते हैं. इट मीन्स द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ नेशनल इनकम अमंग वेरियस इंडिविजुअल्स और पर्सन्स इन अ सोसाइटी. किस प्रकार हम राष्ट्रीय आय को विभिन्न व्यक्तियों के मध्य वितरित कर सकते हैं. इट स्टडीज हाउ द पर्सनल इनकम ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स आर डिटरमाइंड एंड हाउ द इनइक्वलिटीज ऑफ इनकम इमर्ज. किस प्रकार व्यक्तियों में आय का वितरण किया जाता है और किस प्रकार आय की असमानताएं उत्पन्न होती है. माइक्रो थ्योरी ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, it explains how the rates of reward for various factors of production are determined, that is the determination of relative prices of productive factors. वितरण का व्यष्टिगत सिद्धांत जो ये सिद्ध करता है कि किस प्रकार उत्पादक साधनों की सापेक्ष कीमतों का निर्धारण किया जाता है. Rather on the other side, macro theory of distribution, it deals with the problem of the determination of aggregate rewards of various factors in the total national income, that is the relative shares of various factors in national income. Therefore, it is also known as the theory of distributive shares. दूसरी तरफ वितरण का समष्टिगत सिद्धांत हमें समष्टिगत प्रतिफलों के निर्धारण की समस्या से संबंधित है. Therefore, the theory of distribution, it is a basic pillar of the microeconomics, because in the economics we all know that there are the 4 basic pillars. One will be your production, another will be your consumption, third one will be your exchange and fourth will be your distribution. So, basically today I will be dealing with the marginal productivity theory of distribution. किस प्रकार वितरण का सीमांत उत्पादकता सिद्धांत व्यष्टिगत अर्थशास्त्र में अपनी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका रखता है. This theory means what? It means the price of a factor of production, it depends upon its marginal productivity. किसी भी उत्पादन के साधन की कीमत उसकी सीमांत उत्पादकता पे निर्भर करती है. This theory, it was first put forward to explain the determination of wage, that is the reward for labor, but subsequently prices of other factors of production such as land, capital, etc. also were explained with the doctrine of marginal principal theory. Origin of this concept can be traced to Ricardo and West. Later on, it was rediscovered by J.B. Clark, Jevons, Wicksteed, Walras, Marshall and J.R.X. There are various versions of marginal productivity theory. So, the first version of marginal productivity theory is the Clark's version. Clark's, he was an American economist and he compiled a book, and in his book the distribution of wealth he detailed about the marginal productivity principle. The assumptions of this theory are as following. First, he assumed a complete static society, which means a society which will be free from the disturbances caused by the economic growth or change. It means there will be a constant population, there will be a constant sum of capital. Second assumption, it will be a perfect competition in the factor market. Third, perfect mobility of factor of production. Fourth, treated labor as a homogeneous factor. क्लार्क के सीमांत उत्पादकता सिद्धांत ने मुख्य 4 मान्यताओं पर बल दिया है. पहला, उसने एक ऐसे समाज की अवधारणा ली है जो कि स्थैतिक माना गया है, जिसमें किसी भी प्रकार के आर्थिक वृद्धि या परिवर्तन के फलस्वरूप होने वाले परिणाम से अर्थव्यवस्था बिल्कुल अछूती रहेगी. द्वितीय, उसने माना है कि पूर्ण प्रतियोगिता में, जो कि साधन बाजार है, साधन बाजार में जो भी है वो पूर्ण प्रतियोगिता पाई जाएगी। थर्ड, उत्पादन के साधन पूर्ण रूप से गतिशील होंगे। फोर्थ, श्रम एक समरूप इकाई है, अर्थात किसी भी प्रकार के श्रम में अकुशल या कुशल श्रम से संबंधित किसी प्रकार की विभिन्नताएं नहीं है। नाउ देयर इज अ डायग्राम विच डिपिक्ट्स हाउ द ऑप्टिमल यूज और एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑफ ए फैक्टर कैन बी डिटरमाइंड। उपरोक्त चित्र ये स्पष्ट कर रहा है कि किस प्रकार आप एक साधन का अनुकूलतम उपयोग कर सकते हैं। अप टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट you will use or you will employ a factor for the production. On the x-axis we have undertaken the quantity of labor, on y there is a marginal productivity, and there is a somehow curve which is the MPP curve, marginal productivity curve, which shows that if for an individual, firm or industry, this marginal productivity curve of labor, it will decline as more and more workers are added to the fixed quantity of capital. He will go on hiring more and more labor units as long as the addition made to the total product by a marginal labor unit is greater than the wage rate he has to pay. There is a somehow major important part is that the employer, he will always employ the labor up to what amount where it will just equal to its marginal product of labor. उपरोक्त चित्र से ये स्पष्ट है कि हम श्रम की OL मात्राओं का उपयोग करेंगे जबकि हमें OW श्रम की सीमांत उत्पादकताएं प्राप्त हो रही है। द नेक्स्ट डायग्राम इट एक्सप्लेन्स द डिटर्मिनेशन ऑफ फैक्टर प्राइसेस, किस प्रकार साधन कीमतों का निर्धारण किया जा रहा है। हियर एज अ क्लार्क already assumed that the total supply, it was already fixed in the economy, given in the economy, therefore the factor supply, it was just a perfectly inelastic curve, and there will be a factor demand which will be again determined by the marginal productivity doctrine. So where there will be intersection of demand and supply, it will be a wage rate determination. So at OW there will be a wage rate determination. उपरोक्त चित्र स्पष्ट कर रहा है कि साधन की पूर्ति वक्र और साधन का मांग वक्र दोनों जहां OL श्रम की कीमत है वहां पे निर्धारित होगी और जहां OW उसकी सीमांत उत्पादकता है वहां निर्धारित होगी। किन्हीं कारणों से अगर हमारी मजदूरी दर ऊपर की ओर बढ़ रही है तो श्रम की मांगी गई मात्रा OL प्राइम हो जाएगी, और अगर मजदूरी दरों में कुछ कमी हो रही है जैसे कि वो नीचे आ रही है OW प्राइम प्राइम, तो आपकी श्रम की कीमत OL प्राइम प्राइम घट के हो जाएगी। The last part of the Clark's marginal productivity theory, it has been divided for analytical purposes into the three following components. तीन ऐसे उद्देश्य हैं जिनकी वजह से क्लार्क्स की मार्जिनल थ्योरी को हम विश्लेषणात्मक उद्देश्यों की दृष्टि से जांच सकते हैं। पहला, there is a premise that a rational employer, he will be always guided by the marginal product of the factor in the determining the number of units of that factor he has to employ. Second, there is an assumption of perfect competition so that market forces tend to equalize rates of return for all units of a factor, and the last, he assumed a long run general equilibrium in all the markets. Then there is another theory of marginal principle which was laid forward by Marshall and Hicks. Marshall and Hicks, he was a contemporary of J.B. Clark, and according to him, it was wrong to regard the marginal principle doctrine in the matter of wage determination as a wage theory, because he believed that wage rate is determined by both demand and supply of labor. As we already defined that marginal principle, it only explains the demand side of the problem. So, for a complete theory as an explanation for wage determination, the supply curve of labor has also to be introduced in the analysis. This is a diagrammatic explanation where we can conclude that the wage rate, it will be determined at which the upward sloping supply curve of labor curves the demand curve of labor. Now, there are certain differences between the Clark's theory and Marshall's theory. The first will be nature of supply curve. Second, he pointed out that marginal doctrine plus the competitive conditions in the labor market, it would in the long run tend to make the wages of labor in different industries or uses equal to each other and to the marginal principle. Thirdly, he rejected the Clark's version because of the use of assumption of stationary state in the economy. Fourth, he was more concerned with the immediate short run problems of the individual employers. And lastly, he has evolved with the concept of the marginal net productivity of labor, which was obtained by measuring the marginal product of the joint addition of labor and capital and subtracting from it from the cost of capital. Now, there is only one similarity between the Clark's and Marx version, that there is always full employment of labor in the equilibrium situation. Now, we can critically evaluate this theory. Firstly, it was based on the several unrealistic assumptions. Secondly, factor rewards are always not paid equal to their value of marginal product. Third, it cannot explain the rewards of the factors used in the fixed proportion. The serious major drawback is that whatever the trade unions or collective bargaining, they cannot raise the wages of labor without creating unemployment. It ignores the positive interrelationship between the rewards of factors and their productivity. Next, it has a marginalist approach. Next, it was that various factors are jointly demanded for the production of a commodity. And lastly, this theory does not give any importance to the power structure, social conventions, social status and prestige of a group of workers in the determination of remuneration of various groups or classes of labor. Thank you to all.